Man, Kat, you really suck at keeping people safe. I mean, you lost a baby that one time. Welcome to Ranger Reviews, a web series we look at episodes of the TV show Power Rangers and then discuss them. Today we're exploring the 42nd episode of the show Power Rangers Zeo, as well as the 197th episode overall, titled King for a Day Part 1. We start this episode in the power chamber where Tommy is just hanging out, doing whatever. Then everything flashes and suddenly the White Ranger suit in the tube comes to life, coming out, and he starts to get closer and closer to Tommy before it calls out cogs around him. They capture Tommy, and he can't get in contact with Zordon or Alpha. Then we see that Gasket is there too. Also, Gasket is there IRL by Tommy, who is having his brain drained. Gasket has complete power and control over Tommy's thoughts now. Archerina then shows up telling Gasket that he's the best, basically. They agree that Sprocket is no match for this, and that a monster named Altor is there, and they plan to infuse Tommy's powers into him, making him invincible. At the youth center, Kat, Jason, and Rocky come in feeling really guilty for being there without Tommy. They then walk up on Bulk and Skull telling a story to a crowd. They explain that there was a light on the lake, and through this they saw Zeo Ranger 5. They could also see straight through it, and while the crowd doesn't believe them, these kids actually want proof that they actually saw this, so Bulk and Skull leave to go get some. Jason says that they should meet the others at the power chamber to update them. Here's a question, why would they say Zeo Ranger 5 and not the Red Ranger? Why do they know that he's Zeo Ranger 5? Meanwhile, Tommy's now hooked up to Altor and they're exchanging powers. Archerina checks to make sure that it worked and it was successful. Altor feels super strong and Gasket tells him to go take his place in the arena. Altor teleports away. Meanwhile, Machina tells Sprocket how amazing Gasket is and she calls Gasket her #1 son. This is weird. Meanwhile, in the arena, the crowd is filled with whatever suits they could salvage for this scene from seasons 1 to 3 for Mighty Morphin, and Altor defeats a bunch of cogs around him. Gasket calls him the fiercest warrior in the Machine Empire. Seems lame if all he did was beat cogs. Then he and Archerina agree to begin Phase 2 now that Tommy's waking up. Tommy wakes up super confused. Gasket calls him Sire, explaining that he is the king. Gasket pretends to be Tommy's chief advisor, and he tells him that he's lost his memory in his latest battle against the evil Power Rangers. He's told that he's the king of the Machine Empire, and they say that they're the only ones standing between the Power Rangers and their plans to dominate the Earth. They must stop the Power Rangers at all costs. Gasket then tells Tommy that he has to return to the battle immediately to stop the Power Rangers. Meanwhile, in the power chamber, everyone is getting updated about Bulk and Skull's story. They do a scan of the lake and Alpha says he's not getting any reading. But then he does, but it's a residual brainwave pattern, and Alpha says that the pattern is actually changing. Zordon then explains that if these are indeed his brainwave patterns, it's super dangerous things that are getting manipulated very quickly. Kat and Jason say that they're gonna go to the lake while Adam and Tanya help Alpha with the brainwave stuff. It's morphin' time! At the beach, Kat and Jason are looking around for any sort of clue, and they console each other on how they really just want to save Tommy. Jason even mentions how he let Tommy down once before, referring to the green candle. That's a deep cut. Archerina then tells Gasket that Kat and Jason are snooping around their transport area, and Gasket says to basically just mess with them. Then they see the hologram of Tommy, and Jason starts to run toward him, but he realizes that it's a trap, and Jason gets sucked into the holographic entryway. Yeah, Jason's gone now too. Bulk and Skull then come up and they find holographic Tommy, and Bulk and Skull both get caught in a really strong wind, getting sucked into the entryway. In the power chamber, they can't find Jason at all, and Kat shows up in the power chamber, and they keep talking about how Billy's in the Zord Bay or whatever. Then they see that someone else followed Jason into the entryway. Meanwhile, Tommy explains to Gasket that he's struggling to trust anyone because he can't remember anything. Then Gasket shows him cut up footage of the Power Rangers, making it look like they're the ones firing at buildings and whatnot instead of the monsters. This makes Tommy get really pissed off, and they say that the first challenger has arrived. Tommy says that they should set up their strongest warrior to kill whoever it is. Then Jason falls into the scene and he's confused as to where he is. Tommy tells him to surrender and Jason tries to talk to Gasket about what he did to Tommy. Then Archerina says that 2 humans have shown up in their dimension and they plan to close the entryway, and he tells her to put the 2 humans in a holding cell. So Bulk and Skull are now in jail, really confused as to what the hell is happening. Bulk and Skull then start blaming each other for ending up there, and they hear a voice from a lizard man behind them who tells them that they need to find a way out of there, together. Then Billy has finally shown up, and they say that Jason, Bulk, and Skull are there, so they realize that they need to get them out, but at least now they have a way to get in. Then Billy's like, no, that gateway was just shut. Welp. Jason then finds out that Tommy believes that he's the new king of the Machine Empire, and Jason tries to talk sense into him, running forward and getting hit back by a force field. Gasket then orders Altor to enter the ring, who is walking down a hallway as cogs and monsters cheer him on. Billy gets a residual energy reading from the closed portal, and Alpha is trying to get a lock on where this is coming from, and they see that Jason's in that arena, getting ready to fight a monster. Meanwhile, on the moon, Goldar and Rito are trying to get a TV to work, and they can't get any reception. Probably because they're on the moon. But then somehow they tune into the other dimension, seeing Jason in the arena. They call for Rita and Zed. Altor fights Jason and making quick work of him, and this ends up with Jason talking about how Tommy's the only one who can match Jason move for move. Jason then immediately knows that Altor has Tommy's powers somehow, and Jason assumes that Tommy's in Altor. He asks Altor who he is, and Altor says he is Altor, so Jason just kills him. I mean, what if that was Tommy's soul? Jason begs Tommy to get his life together, and Tommy just tells him to shove off. The others watch from the power chamber, obviously worried. Then Jason and Tommy talk some more about how Tommy is totally brainwashed. To be continued. This episode's actually pretty good, even though it has a bit more padding than I generally like. I mean, Tommy thinks he's the king of the machine empire, and there are some really nice little callbacks to other moments that have happened previously in the franchise, not even this season. This is the sort of thing that having a long established characters can do, which is nice to see because they brought back Jason and now they're actually doing this. Other than that, I'm actually glad that Bulk and Skull have been sucked into the other dimension. I mean, it just gives them something tangible to actually do this time around instead of just bug the Power Rangers of whatever their thing is that week. They're actually involved in the plot and it works really well here. I just don't know why they kept saying that Billy wasn't there because of X, Y, and Z when David Yost was actually 100% on set later in the episode. I mean, just stop bringing attention to it or else it just makes it look worse, guys. So how will this two-parter end? Did Jason just straight up kill Tommy's soul when he killed Altor? Find out next time, but until then, may the power protect you.